All right, let's dive right into a really wild idea. We're going to explore one of the most fundamental systems in all of biology, but we're going to look at it through a totally different lens, the lens of computer engineering. So just think about this for a second. What if your cells aren't just, little bags of biological mush? What if every single one of them is actually a tiny, sophisticated computer that builds and repairs itself? That's the incredible concept we're about to break down. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to start where any computer engineer would. We need to find the core component. We're looking for the cell's own integrated circuit. And here it is. It's the metabolic network. And the scale of this analogy is just staggering. We're not saying one little part is kind of like a computer. Nope. We're saying the entire network of chemical reactions is the whole shebang. It's the hardware, the power grid, and the operating system all rolled into one.
Okay, so if it's a computer, it's gotta have parts, right? So let's pop the hood on this thing and break down the hardware, the electrical current, and the power source of this amazing little machine.
This slide right here, this is basically our Rosetta Stone. It lets us translate biology into electronics. So check it out. First, you've got metabolites, things like glucose. Well, that's your data, the signals running through the circuit. Next up, enzymes. These are your logic gates, the tiny little switches, the and, or, and not gates that make all the decisions. The speed of that whole process, what scientists call metabolic flux, for us, that's the electrical current. And finally, where does the juice come from? The famous ATP molecule. That's your power supply. It's the voltage driving the entire circuit.
So we've got the individual components. We have our data, our logic gates, our current, and our power. But, a pile of transistors isn't a computer. You need a motherboard to connect it all. So let's take a look at the cell's blueprint.
And this is what's so incredible. This is not some chaotic jumble of wires. Just like a motherboard designed by an engineer, the metabolic network is a highly optimized design. It's been fine-tuned by evolution for billions of years, with two main goals: be robust, so it can handle errors, and be ruthlessly efficient, so it wastes absolutely nothing. So how does it do that? With some really clever design features. First, it's a scale-free network. That just means most parts only have a few connections, but a couple of key hub molecules, like ATP, are connected to practically everything. The good news? That makes the system really tough against random mistakes. The bad news? It creates a vulnerability. If you hit one of those central hubs, the whole system can crash. The other key feature is the bow tie architecture. The cell takes tons of different inputs, funnels them all down into a few core molecules in the middle, and then fans them back out to build everything it needs. It is the ultimate design for efficiency.
Okay, we've covered the hardware and the layout. Now what about the software? What's the fundamental program that runs on this thing? Well, it's a constant push and pull between two opposing circuits.
You can really think of this as the yin and yang of life at the molecular level. On one side, you have catabolism. That's the demolition crew. It breaks down complex stuff, like food, to release energy and generate that ATP power currency. Then on the other side, you have anabolism. That's the construction crew. It spends that same ATP currency to build everything the cell needs. Proteins, DNA, you name it. One side earns the money, and the other side spends it. It's a perfect little economy.
And smack dab in the middle of that whole power generating process is something called the TCA cycle. The easiest way to think about this is as the cell's CPU, its central processing unit. This is the main engine where all the different fuel inputs end up, all converging to extract the absolute maximum amount of power possible.
So why does any of this matter? What's the point of thinking about a cell as a computer? It's simple, really. If you can understand the circuit, you can start to engineer it. And that's what we get into hacking the molecular code. And this is where it gets really practical. Viewing the cell as a programmable circuit isn't just a cool analogy, it's a game changer. It turns biologists and biochemists into molecular engineers, giving them the power to literally go in and edit the source code of life. So how do they actually do it? It's basically a three-step process. First, you have to model the circuit. Scientists use these huge computer models to create a complete digital map of the entire network. Step 2, you predict the current. They run powerful simulations to see exactly how the molecules are going to flow through that map. And then, step 3, the amazing part, you rewire the code. They use genetic tools to physically go in and change the enzymes, those logic gates, to redirect the flow of molecules wherever they want them to go. And the results of this are incredible. By hacking these cellular motherboards, scientists are reprogramming simple microbes like bacteria and yeast.
They can basically tell them, hey, stop what you're doing and instead become a tiny biological factory. And these factories can pump out things we really need, like biofuels, life-saving medicines, and even sustainable bioplastics.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. The metabolic network isn't just like a computer. In a lot of ways, it's actually much better. It's a self-assembling, self-repairing smart grid. It builds itself, it fixes itself. And the more we learn to speak its language, the more we can harness its incredible power. The real question is, what are we going to program it to build next?